You know, it all may be up there, and the funeral director here will help work with a funeral home up there, or with a minister up there. If they don't want to use a funeral home up there and just want to have a celebration of life in a church or some place like that, the funeral director here will help get everything worked out.
That's great. You know, so oftentimes folks are trying to help others plan, and they don't even take the time to think about themselves, Rick. I mean, plan for themselves. You've even begun to think about yourself, your family members, your loved ones, if anything unexpected ever came up.
Everything's taken care of. You know, we make sure that, you know, we're really strong on insurance, because death can be expensive. Especially, you know, if you don't have insurance and you have to pay for it after medical expenses and everything. You know, it can devastate a family.
Oh, yeah.
That sure can. So, and it can take your retirement money, stuff that you work forever. Your sickness and death can take what you've worked and saved in retirement. So it's always good to have an insurance policy. You know, we have insurance on me and my wife, our children, and our grandchildren. We have policies on everyone, because our children are younger. They don't see the importance of having insurance, but we make sure that we have everything covered.
You know, you're in those instances, and oftentimes we're talking to others. You may not even know exactly what to go through. This was a great line. Roy Clark and his father sat in the family car in the funeral home parking lot for several minutes. As a teenager, he wasn't sure how to respond when his dad put his head in his hands and moaned, "I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say." A friend from their church had been in a car accident. She had survived, but her 3 daughters had all died when a truck hit their vehicle. What could they say to their friend at a time like this? Obviously, in the funeral industry, I mean, you're going through those steps. You're trying to think about, what do you encourage folks, loved ones surrounding around this one who's lost their immediate loved one, when family are coming in town, if they don't know what to do or how to console their loved one, what do you all say to those families?
Well, first thing, something like that also devastates us.
Right, really?
Yeah. It gets close, and gets close to home.
Right.
You know, especially when it's children and stuff like that. Just because we deal in this business every day, nothing's ever the same.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, sometimes you really don't need to say anything.
Really?
Just be there.
Just listen.
That's right, and listen and hear what they want to say, and assist them in any way you can. So it's every situation is different.
Every situation.
Everyone. You never have the same thing happen over again. You know, I've been doing this for 35 years. Well, almost 35 years. And every family comes in, everybody wants something different. It's just, it's not a cut and dried thing. It's, you know, it's, you have so many different requests that families want.
Right.
Different types of music. You know, somebody may walk in and just want organ music, and the next family may want to walk in and have a rock band play.
Right.
You know, you never know what a family's going to have.
Oh, yeah. Great point.
Everything is different. Everything is different. And that's just like embalming and taking care of people. Everybody is different.
Right. Are funeral homes ever asked by out-of-town family members to help them get organized if they're coming in from out of town? Obviously, they're trying to help spearhead if the loved one who's passed away here wants to remain here and be buried here. Are you all interfacing, or funeral homes actively, regularly asked to help out? Yeah, you know,
that's just like we can assist a family with air flight.
Right.
You know, with bereavement flights.
Right.
And then,
what does that mean exactly?
A bereavement flight. If you've had a death in your immediate family, and you're going to be flying in, and you're the one that has to make the funeral arrangements or something, you can get a discounted price because it is a bereavement flight. It's something that just hits you all of a sudden.
Right.
So you have to leave just within hours. Funeral director can set every bit of that up. And then, you know, as being here at the beach, you know, funeral directors can set up with motels, whatever, help people, you know, if they don't have a place to go to, because a lot of people doesn't know where to go.
Right, sure. I think a lot of folks want to know, how much am I going to have to give the funeral home? Who's going to help contact my insurance company if I have insurance? But what is something going to cost, Rick? I mean, what are some of the costs on just a basic level, or what are the range of costs that folks will be faced with?
Well, you know, you can take a cremation and it can be $2,000 or less.
Right.
Or you can go right on up as, you know, as expensive, exclusive, whatever you want to say, as you'd like. All different types of levels of service. I mean, they have all different types of options for you to choose from. So, and as far as how much you got to pay, of course, most people have some kind of an insurance. When you come in, you give the insurance policies to the funeral director. If you give them to him first thing, and say, here's these policies, the funeral director will go in and get his secretary, or he'll do it. He'll call the insurance company right then and say, you know, there's been a death. And he'll report the death, and they'll immediately get the claim forms out. Sometimes they can fax the claim forms. Sometimes they'll use a standard assignment that a funeral home will have. And what an assignment is if you've got a $20,000 policy on your mom, but you don't want to spend $20,000, you want a basic cremation. They'll sign an assignment that will just take that they send in with the claim form to the insurance company, and they will just send the funeral home the check for that amount, and you don't have to pay anything right then.
Good.
So, see, insurance is very, very important to have.
Absolutely. And how far in advance can folks begin planning? I mean, could they begin planning as early as they can? That's
right. That's just like I say, we have policies on our grandchildren.
Really?
And, yes.
Oh, come on.
Yes, and our grandchildren, and they're, you know, when they get older, we turn them over to them.
You know, you mean to begin paying for them?
Yeah. My mother back in Kentucky, she has policy on me. She has policy on my children. She has policy on, which would be her great-grandchildren. Just something, not nothing big, just something to help out in case something happens. You know, they don't have to be $100,000 policies. That's for people, you know, that wants to do estate planning and stuff like that, make sure their home's paid for in case of a death or something. But you know, smaller policies to take care of the burial part, you know, in case there's a death.
We've just got a couple of minutes, Rick, and I think you highlight so much happens right up at the death and throughout the funeral and throughout the services thereafter. Let's say it's a couple days afterwards when many of the family have to get back home, back to the Carolinas, somewhere else. What do you encourage how do you talk to the loved one who is still here?
Well, you know, when we in mortuary school, we had classes in psychology, and for us to go and be able to sit with the family and talk to the family, you know, there's a lot of things to do. Small things. Change, if it's been a husband and wife and they've laid there in the bed for so many years that way, turn the bedroom around. Take the bed and put it on another wall.
That's a great point.
You know, if Dad sat in this chair and watched TV, and when you walk in the living room, you expect to see Dad, turn the living room around. Take Dad's chair and put it somewhere else.
That's a great idea. What a great idea.
Clothing in the closet. Grandma's always went and put Grandpa's clothes and his underclothing and everything in one drawer, and his shirts in the closet. Take that stuff and move it out. Get rid of it, give it to somebody, give it to the needy, or store it away if you want to, if you're not ready to get rid of it. But then take part of grandmother's stuff and put it in grandfather's drawer, so when she goes, she's looking through those closets and those drawers for some of her clothing, so she doesn't go and see that, you know, and see that empty drawer sitting there all the time. So,
and probably oftentimes you see folks are very resistant to that. They don't want to see the change. They want to continue thinking about loved one, and they don't want you to touch the bed. They don't want you to move any furniture around. I guess at some point you have to be both gentle but firm as well.
That's right.
Help them break
and that's
free.
where you know, we can talk to a daughter and she says, well, Mom's having such a hard time, and we can tell daughter, well, you really need to do this. If you'll change this around, you know, take the dining room table and change it around. If Dad sat at the head of the table, put Mom at the head of the table. Turn the table. Do something. Just make changes. You know, Carlyle, who was a philosopher, said, change indeed is painful, yet ever needful.
Ever needful. That it is. That it is. Absolutely. That's a very good point. You know, you would think through for you, Rick, who've been in, how long have you been in the till death do us part industry. How long have you been focused
34
on?
years.
34 years.
Yes, sir.
Son of a gun, since out of diapers. My Lord.
Old enough to be your daddy.
Well, we don't talk about stuff like that, but that's tremendous. So you've made an impact on families and loved ones, literally 34 years.
Yeah.
And you got your start in where, really?
Up in McCreary County, Kentucky, in southeastern Kentucky.
Right.
I started up there. Went to mortuary school in Louisville, Kentucky, the Kentucky School of Mortuary Science.
Kentucky School of Mortuary Science,
Yeah, that's where I graduated from.
Mm-hmm.
Got my license in Kentucky and Tennessee and then South Carolina.
And then later in South Carolina?
Yeah. I just always knew I wanted to move down here.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I just love Myrtle Beach. Love Myrtle Beach. Mm-hmm. So I got my license a few years before I moved down here, before I ever made the move.
Right. Knowing that you make a difference in the Palmetto State for now and many years to come.
Yeah.
That's tremendous.
This is our home.
That's wonderful. Those are great words, Rick. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Rick Neal, a licensed funeral director and embalmer, coming up next. What great words, what great words. Change indeed is painful, yet ever needful. Change indeed is painful, yet ever needful. Of course, those great words that Rick kicked it off with. Great way to kick off the week, leading up to Halloween on Wednesday as we think about calling 911, being there, but also these great words from Scripture of when someone's grieving, listen, don't lecture. Listen, don't lecture. Lord, give me sensitivity to people in their grief and pain, to weep with them and show your love in ways mere words cannot attain. In ways mere words cannot attain. You heard Rick talk about it, sitting back, listening, being there for them during those tough times, but also getting firm, helping to rearrange things, possibly rearranging the bedroom or the dining room, to be there to help them in that time after the funeral, after the services. A lot has to happen during that very delicate time. Be there for folks. Make sure you listen. Don't lecture.